Oh, and there we go. I believe it's working. Hit start recording. Pour myself some coffee here. Put that back right there. Okay. I'm still looking a little out of focus. That looks better. Can actually see. Ugh, I need a shave, but life goes on. So, Dan here, Max SPL Videos, and it's been a good week for audio stuff. I want to get in today. Oh, and there's a good chance my audio is not lined up with my microphone for the live stream. I apologize for that. I have a new old camera setup and I forgot to set my delay up. So we shall see. We shall see. Now, I want to take a look at some NAMM stuff. I did not get to go myself, but it has been a good week. Ooh, it was a good weekend by the look of it. Today I want to look at the DJ and live sound stuff. I might do a video on some of the guitar stuff because there was some cool releases for, full tones back. That's pretty sweet. A few companies put out some new stuff, but I think outside of I think Ibanez released a few things. It's feeling more and more like we're getting trickle out throughout the year. NAMM hasn't become CES, or not CES. What was the other one? What was the video game one that what was the video game expo that died? E3. There we go. Oh, I don't know how I couldn't remember that. NAMM hasn't become E3 yet, which is good. The big problem E3 had is it started off as a trade show and slowly but surely turned into whatever it was before it died, where it was basically just a bunch of trailers, presentations on games and stuff like that, but it was to fans instead of industry. Now, NAMM has a bit of that, but NAMM still, if you're not a dealer, it's hard to get a pass. Like, it's easier than it used to be, but blah, blah, blah. It is about showing off. It is about getting hype for products, but it is still about signing deals in, there are millions of dollars exchanged over the course of that weekend of companies selling direct to retailers, and it is a chance for them to show it off. It's a chance to go meet celebrities and stuff. Like, I got to meet a few when I went years back. I just haven't been able to afford it since, so I haven't been back yet. But anyway, let's look at some stuff that came out this year. Now, I just went to gearnews.com and just found some cool stuff. Like I said, full tone being back and whatnot. But I just decided, you know what, I'm going to mostly talk about DJ stuff. So, full disclosure, I am a dealer of some companies that might come up. I think most of these I'm not. So do take everything I say with a grain of salt, because I do sell in some cases the competition to some of these. So, but LD, all right, you guys put out some new stuff. Easier chance. So I'm pretty sure the Maui G3s already are out there, but I'm assuming the big difference is they've added mixers to them. I could be wrong, but that's what it's kind of looking like. Oh, and they have like an app and everything to go with it. 6-channel digital mixer with a that can be expanded with a second column to provide 12. Oh, this is a cool thing. This is a cool system. I the first time I saw this was technically I think it was custom first, but PowerWorks has some like small PAs that have like 2 or 3 inputs on the back, and they can be wired back and forth so that they communicate so that you can actually expand out your inputs. Um, so I actually really like this idea of if you have 2 of these column speakers, being able to then end up with a 6-channel mixer. And I'm a big fan of these digital like iPad or tablet mixer style things. I've got a video I've recorded. I need to do some editing on it, but I'm doing a video on the what was it? The UI 16 from Soundcraft, my new favorite budget-ish mixer, right? Sub $1,000 mixer. It's pretty great, especially for the price. But this I actually really like. Just kind of seeing offhand that they're just taking, because I'm pretty sure the Maui stuff they've already put out these particular units prior, but having these mixers in there. Oh, interesting. A cardioid dispersion pattern. It's an interesting way of describing that. So one of the advantages of a line array, or sorry, not line array, I was about to, one of the advantages of these column arrays, because line arrays are very different, is a column array has a very wide dispersion. It's an advantage and a disadvantage. It's a little trickier for feedback in some respects, but it does have a much wider output, which for certain situations can be very useful, right? Especially the classic use case for stuff like this is, one of these for an acoustic guitarist, right? Properly. I like that. I like a lot of these design choices. Maui, I attempted to become a Maui dealer. I never heard back. It wasn't Maui's fault. It was whoever the middleman is. I did all like the full application. I didn't even hear like a rejection. It was just never heard from him again. But I've heard kind of nothing but good things. I really like their coaxial PA speaker designs, especially for stage monitor use, because you can actually adjust the angle again to account for the output. But yeah, I really like this idea. Making a column array a cardioid pattern is interesting. Essentially, even more so than before, this is a point source speaker that sits on the floor. But that's not a bad thing. Again, DJs who want a good looking compact system, singer songwriters, that kind of thing. Like, I'd be curious to know, they have, are they all 2 8-inch speakers? No, one has yeah, one has a 12. Yeah, so they have a few different options out. Yeah, so this one has a 12-inch versus 2/8. Man, 2/8 for a lot of people. 2/8 is enough. Like that 28, that probably sounds pretty killer. If you don't need a lot of booming bass, 2/8 with a column array is going to get you a pretty darn good sound. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, I dig it. Good job, Maui. Again, like especially column arrays, they're kind of the market's a little flooded with them. Just every company now has one, right? Every JBL, EV, Mackie. I don't know if QSC does one. I'm actually surprised. I'd be surprised if they don't, but I haven't seen one from them yet. I might have just missed it. I'll double check the catalog later. But a lot of companies have jumped on this train, so it's getting harder and harder to stand out. And yeah, doing a 2/8 I think is a really good idea. I think Yorkville has a 2/8. I know they have a portable 2/8 sub, but yeah, having some versatile options in terms of that. And yeah, this mixer idea, I'll have to look into this because this is actually pretty sweet for singer-songwriters, open mics, that kind of stuff. Having it built in is just generally really handy, but also having the ability to turn each side into a 6-channel mixer together to make a total of 12. Oh, you can add additional subwoofers. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder then if the 2/8 can then have like if they make a 12 that's designed to go like underneath it or something. The 12 I highlighted wasn't that, but is yeah, max SPL of 127 is pretty good. Seeing if they have a max of 125. Yeah, that SPL is a little low. It's pretty high for column arrays in this kind of price range. But it's one of the things I always tell people: you will get more volume if you put the money into a point source system. But that's not to say that you should write off column arrays completely. Again, singer-songwriters, DJs who want a good-looking setup, this can be pretty sweet. And yeah, I'm happy to see some cool innovations coming. Keep it up. Let's do the wave stuff, or no, let's hop into it now. Hardware plugin host lets you use Waves and other manufacturers for live mixing. That's good. When I see a box like this from a company like Waves, my brain instantly goes to proprietary only. I'd be curious if there's limitations on that. But then, is this essentially a low latency computer? Which isn't a bad thing. Right? Essentially, what they probably are doing here is it's a low latency computer running on like a Linux kind of platform would be my guess, just to keep the background stuff down. Yeah, because it's saying it's a hardware plugin host that lets you use VSTs. It's a little bit of an odd way of phrasing it. I have a suspicion this is essentially a computer with a really low latency setup and sound card. Let's find out here. So, oh, it's only a 2U. I don't know why that photo made it look taller than that. But I guess, yeah, because that's kind of like a standard amplifier handle. So 2-unit box, cool. Waves and other developers, yes. Let me use more stuff like that. Claims ultra low latency requires no complex setup. Hook up the live box to your console and start mixing via Dante or Maddie. Dual power supply. They have a redundant power supply. That's for live. Yeah. So this is like way out of my pay grade. The kind of events I do, this is a bit this is a really cool design. But is just like way more than I would ever use, right? There's even a few comments. Oh, those are talking about something else. Weird. I don't know why these comments are on the side. That doesn't make any sense to me. Because there doesn't appear to be any comments about this particular. It must have been a case of these. Might be a website error because those are talking about a Neumann microphone or interface or something. Yeah, it's talking about an audio interface. This is not. So this doesn't look like a lot on the surface, but yeah, if you have a touring rig and you're using, a high-end digital console that can take like send and receive MADI, I'm assuming basically what you do is it's running like a ins and outs digitally and then converting it back and forth when it needs to. And this, then you run a separate thing to program in which, well, I don't know. Yeah, this like I said, this gets over my head in terms of tech. I don't know. Maybe somebody out there knows. Feel free to comment. But I have a suspicion, like my headspace goes to it basically acts as inserts and or auxes, and then you have to run like a separate monitor or something for this. But I'm assuming though, if it's communicating digitally with your console and your console is ready to deal with stuff like this, it might just pop up on your screen and like run basically natively on your console. But that's really cool. I do like that it's VSD plugins from Waves and other manufacturing for live mixing, because like that other manufacturers is a big thing. If it was only Wave stuff, yeah, that might be a little tricky. But that's really cool. Good on you, Waves. As you may have noticed, I have not looked into quite a few of these. All right, moving on. Roland, the Bridgecast X, more streaming power. Now this is like a big trend. I'm not sure if I'm into or not. Is these streaming specific mixers? But maybe it's just because I don't stream enough. Like if I streamed more, would I care more about this stuff? Maybe. Rotary dials, that's cool. I'm assuming programmable pads here. Only a single mic, but then it has like mic effects and stuff like that you can do. I don't know why you have a separate volume for chat, unless that is for like if you're running, say, well, it's probably you can like route Discord into there. Then HDMI in game. So if you're running like a separate mixer or separate streaming computer, that's kind of my assumption is HDMI versus game. USB-C ports for desktop, laptops, game, 2 HDMIs, as well as HDMI through, so you can feed an additional monitor. That's actually kind of sweet, because if the HDMI through on this, oh, that's why. Okay, this instantly makes more sense. Consoles. Okay, I'm instantly sold on this. This is actually a really cool idea. Um, royalty-free music built right in. Okay, that's a little gimmicky, but you know, being able to just hit a button and hey, background music while I'm going to the washroom or something, that's fine. Bridgecast app. So this is where you start to lose me a. Oh well, no, oh no, bridge, right? I'm assuming it's supposed to be like an in between, so you probably still run this into OBS. Your sound effects or music. What's more? Yeah, can add OBS shortcuts. Okay, yeah, so this does run with OBS. I'm actually sold on this a bit more than I thought I would be. Externalizing some of the audio aspects while also working as potentially like a video switcher. That's actually kind of cool because honestly, a lot of like if this was just audio, I don't know. Some of these audio uh some of these streaming or podcast specific audio devices are uh you're paying for it being a streaming slash uh podcast audio device where like I'm streaming right now. I'm going through OBS and I've got a I think I paid $50. No, I paid $100 for it. But then I saw it on clearance for $50 a bit later. Audio interface, and it works. Like I'd rather go through a better mixer and stuff. I have plans if I streaming on this channel actually starts to matter. I keep looking over here because that's where I used to have my camera. But again, new camera setup. So something like this, Roland here, this actually feels like it has a purpose. It's not just, hey, we made an easier to use audio device so that people who aren't used to using audio devices can be their own producer, right? Having the HDMI video switching and stuff built in by the look of it, because it's got two HDMI inputs. So I'm assuming, does this also then work as a capture card? Yeah, content capture rely. Yeah, this is actually sweet. Okay, it is a streamer mixer board with capture card all in one. Um, for some reason in my head, I thought that audio, like it was just going to scrape the audio off, and then you'd have to run into something else. Whoa, which would have been terrible. But yeah, everything I'm liking, or everything I'm seeing, I'm liking actually. Roland. I wish you stayed in the DJ side of things too. But if this is what you're moving to, is really, really user friendly, like, yeah, if I was doing more, streaming and especially game streaming, I'd probably go to this instantly. And two HDMI ins, including one through, is actually, this thing's nearly perfect. Okay, so if you're a solo streamer, okay, you're streaming Xbox games, you've got a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, and you want to run clean HDMI out from it like the pros do, instead of running like I'm using USB. So that's why my picture looks a bit because I'm cheap. Well, actually, no, it's because my other camera's at work, and that's the only one that runs off of HDMI for this stuff. But yeah, if you're running HDMI out of your camera, you can run your console and your camera into this capture card. If you're super pro, you can run your camera in and your second streaming or like your gaming PC into it, and then be sitting in front of your streaming PC or vice versa, whatever setup you'd have. Yeah, this is sweet. Whoever thought of this and made this all work, good job. Yeah, because if you're running a console, you can do the through out to either a computer or monitor or a TV. If you're doing just PC stuff, you can do uh, your ins and whatnot and send that all into OBS as is, as well as like the only thing I would like to see is a second microphone input. That's the only thing I would have maybe liked to have seen on here. But yeah, first glance, without like I haven't watched any of their demo videos and stuff. I'm just looking over this most of the stuff for the very first time. Good on ya. Yeah, it's probably not going to be cheap. Depending official product page. Loading. Who knew it might load a little slow when I'm running all this other stuff? Can it HDMI through when using USB video output? USB video output resolution. So it can do 1920 1080 at 60 frames a second. 4K streaming is I wouldn't worry about it, but it can accept quite the array of signals. Yeah. That's pretty good. I think it looks like it caps out at 1440 in terms of input signals. Oh no, I'm seeing. I think I should have my 4K resolutions memorized. Looks like it might be able to get up to 4K for input, which is good because if you're running again a lot of modern consoles and stuff, but it can accept different refresh rates and whatnot in terms of hertz. Yeah, for video streaming purposes, this thing's pretty great. Cool. Well, good job, Roland. I dig it. I was expecting just another podcast mixer. That's sweet. Oh, I thought this was a different one because Korg also put out a set of new mixers. Did I miss it? So I was gonna do a joke about speaking of mixers. Yeah, let's take a look at these. Now I am a Korg dealer, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. That is a small form factor. Rotaries instead of fade. Oh, they have faders on the bigger one. Okay. Everybody prefers faders when they can, just about. They just tend to the resolution, I think is often what's called, just the feel, the tactile feel, and being able to find exactly where you need on it. I find faders can be nice. They also have that visual feedback, but when you want small form factor, dials are the way to go. So I like this decision, just instantly seeing that the smaller form factor one has dials, and then if you want the bigger one, well, you get your faders in. Not a bad call. Now Korg has always been really interesting. Because their mixers have been very software integrated, which is nice. More straightforward approach to design and layout. Onboard recording, cool. They aren't audio interfaces, making them distinctly analog compared to most current creator gadgets. Interesting. So they do internal recording, and then yeah, you wouldn't want to use these if again you're doing like a live podcast streaming out to but if you're doing a recorded podcast, and you set something like this up with your camera, you hit record on your camera, hit record on this. You don't need a computer to do such a thing. So that could be really, really good. Um, 4 bankable pads for triggering and looping samples during your stream, podcast, or music performance. I'm gonna have to take a much closer look at these. They made some interesting choices that I think. So like I often like to say about like DJ controllers, there's no perfect DJ controller. There might be a perfect DJ controller for you. Same thing's often with mixers and stuff like that, right? I can think of a few use cases for these that um, they have stereo subgroups in a mixer that size. That's cool. Um, oh, and they even say, especially for a mixer this size. I wasn't actually reading that. I just saw uh, 2 stereo subgroups and then didn't read the second sentence. Yeah, so the bigger one just adds both. Oh, what? Man, this is packed full of weird, cool tricks. Both consoles have a range of onboard processing effects and a spectrum analyzer. Yeah, I think these are more, as they're saying, this is aimed at like, I want to make electronic music without plugging into my computer. Um, but I could see, like, if it does internal recording, instead of having, a little uh, Zoom recorder with like a bunch of mics plugged into it, having like a more analog feeling mixer for it without needing a computer is actually pretty sweet. Yeah, I have to read up more on these. For the stuff I do, there's better options, but I think this is gonna fill a major niche, which is cool. I love it when companies do that, where it's not just a one size fits all option. Like I think this is a one size fits a very specific type of need. And potentially two, like I said, like they're mentioning in here that these are oriented towards like electronic music creation, but I could see a podcast recording on something like this if they want to do mobile recording stuff without bringing a computer with them. That's really neat. Cool. Now, sticking with Korg, the Handy Tracks, the tribute to Vestax mobile record player and more. So mobile record players are kind of back in vogue. They got super popular, died down a little bit, and then they're popular again over the last few years. Yeah, so I think something like this for, again, like if they're putting out those other mixers that are orientated towards like electronic music creation and stuff, seeing that it has a crossfader effect basically for like doing scratching and stuff. Um, that's interesting. Like this could actually fit really well into a system like that, right? Um, one of the big things with these type of mixers that I think they kind of go underutilized is if you get something like this, you plug it in to a channel on your um, plug it into a channel on your whatever system you have, and you just throw a set of scratch samples on there and just go to town. So, yeah, reading more. Yeah, so it's in collaboration with the former CEO of Vestax, because I'm pretty sure they don't exist anymore. I've seen a few of their. I haven't used any of their products but I've seen a few of them kicking about still on like the used market. A lot of DJs swear by their controllers. And yeah, that must have been the OG. That was do do do. Built-in speaker could jump any time. Yeah, okay, built-in speaker and stuff. It's the built-in speaker is less interesting to me compared to what has a filter on it. Scratch effect, bypass and on. I need to know what that means. That might be crossfader curve. Um, Nothing scratch effects, a filter, a looper, and various play speeds, and a delay effect. Is a looper built in? What the heck? Okay. This thing's weird, but in a good way. I dig it, right? I could see. Oh, and this. Okay, so there's a master volume up here. My assumption when I saw this volume fader was that it's like your output, and your output's on a fader. To kind of turn this into a separate deck um, on a rig. But man, yeah, again, you throw scratch samples and stuff on here, and being able to like actually do a filter with adjustable filter type. Cool. I'm assuming when they say filter, my assumption without digging deeper is that it is a high/low pass filter knob kind of thing like you see on DJ consoles. Uh, can run through USB-C or AAA batteries. That's cool in general. Yeah, being battery powered, or you can just bus power it. Like I wouldn't run it with stuff like this. I don't recommend just plugging it straight off your PC. You can, but my power bar has a USB-C power port, usually used for like charging a phone. But as long as this can run off of something that like that works kind of awesome. Uh, you can remove effects controls. What do you mean you can remove the effects controls? I don't know what that means. Does that mean this panel is like interchangeable? Um. Okay. Yeah. That is this just. Oh, that just goes to Korg. I'm curious if their site has any more information on this thing because I was like, okay, cool, uh, portable turntable, fine. Might not be up on here yet. If it's, yeah, I'm not seeing it just yet. However, I'm intrigued. I didn't know they made this. What is this? Is this new or is this old? All right, I have a new rabbit hole to go down, but not now. All right, Korg. Like I said, I'm a Korg dealer, but this thing looks wicked. There are a lot of turntable DJs and stuff that I think would really love something like this, or mixing both because I often see on more beginner friendly kind of sites and stuff of like or like on Reddit and things like that of like, hey, I'm looking to get into turntables and stuff. What should I get? Blah, blah, blah. If you've got like, well, I don't know, a Rev 1, doesn't have any inputs or anything like that. You can't run DVS into it, blah, blah, blah. But you run your RCAs from that into a external mixer. You have one of these handy. You throw your scratch samples onto this. Like you get a little, I can't even know what size these are. These 7-inch? Yeah, I'll have to look into this thing more. But you throw a little record on there that has your oohs and ahs and stuff to scratch with. It has its own little crossfader here, so you get your loops and stuff going that you want to scratch over on your little 2-channel Rev 1 kind of style thing. That is great for scratching and stuff, but it just, something like this is just really cool and weird. Have this thing next to it plugged into a different channel on your mixer board. When you're done with your little scratch session over here, you can add a bunch of cool effects and stuff too, all in this box and not have to worry about it at all. Mute it and go back to your Rev 1. Keep going. That's really cool. That's really neat. Yeah, I was not expecting I was not expecting Korg record player to come out at NAMM this year, but that's really cool. And neat. Right? Like they got the original they're showing here, like, hey, yeah, it's got like a little built-in speaker, and their Taiwan has a it's got the. No, I'm gonna like if I got something like this, I'd be RCAing it. Yeah, that's just really cool. That's just cool and weird, and I love it. All right, good job, Korg. I dig it. And then I need to look up whatever the heck this thing is. I've never heard of this. Is this like a controller that's all like Chaos Pad touchscreen to control it, and then has like a Chaos Pad built in the middle? I'm really just intrigued because I love tiny controllers. Anyway, carrying on. Kali. Kali Audio, they've done some really cool stuff over the last few years. These look to be some studio monitors. So, I love studio monitors. I have a set here on my desk underneath my my camera's actually sitting on one right now. I think especially for mixing and like video editing and like that kind of stuff, highly recommend them. There's been a weird push on like DJ forums and stuff as of late to go and get studio monitors for like just general music listening and or like DJing, not for like production purposes. So something like these might bridge the gap. System. Oh, so they have like EQ compensation for proximity to wall surfaces. That's cool. Yeah, nothing crazy going on here. But Kali has been building a good reputation as being a very competitively priced option for smaller studios. 4.5-inch woofer goes down to 39 hertz. Built-in D to A converter. Yeah, these are not for me, but I know quite a few people that these would be perfect for. Being able to run USB-C out of your computer and problem solved. But then you can choose to just run them as is. Secondary output or output to secondary, that tells me it is one of them has an amp in it, the other one is passive, and you just click that cable over. External power supply, which is good. You don't want speakers like this running off of USB-C. Although a powerful enough power brick could do it. But as you can see, 72 watt, 3 amp. Or 3A, whatever. Anyway, at 24 feet, amps get really weird when you start to do them. It's all math. Anyway, cool. Nothing really to say on these, because again, they're not really for me, but yeah, a 4.5-inch woofer, silk dome tweeter, front port is actually really good because you can put it a bit closer to the wall. Yeah, I think for the right situation, these are really cool. But yeah, don't really have much to say about them. Carrying on with that, these new release from Presonus. Now, I've used some of their monitors in the past. I've found they sound quite good. These are compact. Ooh, those are gonna be tiny. Do. A single point source design with a wide sweet spot. Precise steering alignment. Oh, yeah, that's what they're trying to. Yeah, Dolby Atmos. So that's like this new protocol for increasing, like, if anybody remembers DVD audio when they were trying to do like surround sound and things like that. This Dolby Atmos stuff is kind of the new hotness for it, and having smaller speakers available that don't take up a lot of space, you can ceiling mount and stuff like that. Not a bad plan. I'm not sold on the Atmos thing, but these look pretty sweet. So I'm assuming, yeah. So just like those Calis, 4.5-inch driver, but then they put the tweeter right in the center, so the speaker takes up. It probably cuts you about 40% of your size off. Now, frequency response is lower, but again, for like an Atmos setup, they're expecting you to run a subwoofer with it. High and low. Oh, with a low cut, acoustic space stuff. Okay. So no like DSP, blah 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 blah. Which again, you don't really. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned. You don't really want that in a monitor, especially at this size and price. Usually they're going to be gimmicky. So I like that this is nice standard stuff. And depending on your crossover frequency for your subwoofer, you can knock those out here. Interesting that it's high and mid. There's no low, but I guess on a 4-inch that they're expecting you to use with a subwoofer, period. This makes a lot of sense. I'm just not used to seeing it. I'm guessing the bigger ones probably have, because it sounds like they do a 6-inch. Yeah, because the 6-inch one probably has a low. Yeah, this is neat. All right. And again, like, this is like perfect marketing in terms of use case. Yeah, because I don't know if you would normally just throw a set of these on your desk, because you'd and again though, if you're using a subwoofer, you could get away with, like, if you really needed a like very compact set of speakers, like you don't have a lot of desk space, this could be actually pretty sweet. So that's kind of cool. I dig that. All right, carrying on. Oh, I did have these in my thing, but we're gonna move on because I already looked at those. Some DJ stuff proper. Now Hercules DJ has been swinging for the fences with this T7 as of late. Again, full disclosure, I am a Hercules dealer. I have not used the T7 myself yet because even though I'm a Hercules dealer, I don't have a lot of stuff. Oh, I'm getting a phone call. I need to mute my mic. Always interesting being the boss. Okay. All right. So, let's get back to this here. So, Hercules DJ, as I mentioned before my phone call there, I am a Hercules dealer. So, technically, I can get these in, but I have not yet, just because my market here, I don't, something like this wouldn't sell. I brought in a few of their smaller ones, and those ones sold pretty well. But it, it's a lot of hobbyists at best. Like, I'm in a small town. I would use one of these. But I currently have not bit the bullet on one yet. I also am not a scratch guy. So when it comes to the T7, like they say here, learn how to spin on vinyl. This is mostly for your scratch DJs. If you want that vinyl feel, ooh yeah, these things can be a lot of fun. But yeah, for what I do, it would be overkill because I just use my jog wheels to line the tunes up. I don't do a lot of scratching. I might in the future. Like I've got, if you've seen my video on the AMX, I've got a set of turntables that I'm learning to scratch on. But I DJ weddings. They don't want that. Anyway, everything I've heard about the T7 though is this thing is killer. For its price, it was funny. I watched a really good video. I believe it was Cleveland Terry was at the Hercules booth and it was live, and he referred to the T7 as an amazing entry level uh, DJ controller, and the rep's face, you could tell that he wanted to correct him, but just like it just didn't feel right because he was praising the thing as the best entry level controller out there right now, especially like the only entry level with moving faders. But yeah, this is kind of an interesting unit because it's unheard of to have this level of like tech going on in a controller in this price range. Because if you haven't seen the T7 yet, then either you're under a rock or you're not really in the DJ world, which is possible, right? I do, like I said, I do guitar videos and sound videos and stuff. I need to do more guitar videos. They're on the way, but yeah, spinning platters on a sub $1,000 US controller. I hear this thing is silly light for that as well, because that's one of the other things is like once you start dealing with moving platters and the mechanisms to make them move, it's kind of hard to drop the weight because you need motors and you need everything that makes those run. But what they've done is they've done a underneath this little plastic bit right here is a belt. So these are belt-driven turntables, but for this size, this form factor, right? Newmark has their little mini scratch turntable and stuff. That thing's belt driven, right? It feels fine. Every scratch DJ that I've heard of that has tried these is like, yeah, they actually, you can't really tell that it's a belt, and it kind of shows that in the 11 pounds that the thing weighs. Like 11 pounds to me is heavy for a, well, actually, I don't even know what my, no, I have a I have a much heavier controller as well, but like for me, like I said, for the weddings and stuff that I DJ, this isn't for that. This is, you want a scratchable, or you love the feel of vinyl for mixing your general mixes on. I don't have that nostalgia or that feel, so it's not necessarily for me. But oh boy, is it ever perfect for the demographic it's aiming for, right? You got 8 pads aside. Oh, I love this effect engine they've got going. Well, engine is the wrong term. Effects system setup, whatever you want to call it. It is all effects in software, but the controller aspect of it, we've got, you assign each of these buttons to whatever effect you want, blah, blah, blah. And then the paddles. Oh, paddle effects. I have a hard time going back. Anything that is just on off or using a knob and stuff. Oh, I love me a paddle when it comes to effects. So that's actually pretty sweet in general. Yeah, like 3 effects buttons per deck, so you can have those effects on and off using the paddle. If you haven't used paddle effects, trust me, they're great. Um, yeah, like I said, this is just generally a great little controller. Now these were announced last year. Whoa, did they drop the price? Hmm. I think they dropped the price this year because a lot of people were saying that the original was okay in terms of like the platters all felt great. The again the effect section awesome, pads feel great, all this stuff, and then the crossfader was okay. This, from what I hear, because Innofader quickly came out with their top of the top fader system because this is designed. Again, Hercules thought ahead. This whole piece here, you can see the 4 screws. Well, fourth is hidden behind the edge of the image. You could rip out that whole thing and replace it, which is a little unfortunate that it wasn't just the crossfader. Like that was a little bit annoying that you couldn't just replace the crossfader. But this did allow for like a full drop in with better faders for your channel faders and stuff too. So not too bad of an idea. And yeah, they came out with like the premium, and from what I've heard, the crossfader on this premium one, it's great for scratching. Again, I don't do a lot of scratching, so not for me. But yeah, like if you're looking into getting into turntablism and you want the feel of a moving platter, I just don't know, especially if I'm reading that right, that this thing is now standard version 555. Ooh. Now that is from Tallman or whatever, however it's pronounced. So I don't know how that translates into American retailers. Well, let's check. Let's go just because I'm assuming most of my viewers are American. Oh, Sweetwater is with it. 2E. Yeah, not Sweetwater. T7. Oh, there's probably a bunch of things called the T7. Yeah, $700 American for moving platters, and then it's only $100 more to get the premium edition. And I don't know. Yes. Honestly, everybody, if you're watching this right now and you're considering getting a T7, just get the premium. Just get the premium edition. Because if it comes with this case, nice, it's not like a high end case by any means, right? Like it's got the exposed foam and whatnot. But yeah, getting the better, like even if you're not planning on doing too much scratching with it, getting a well designed molded case that will fit it really well and has space for all of your faders and all that stuff to make sure nothing gets squished and blah blah blah. And on top of that, has the better fader module in the middle. Yeah, $100 different. Just go for it, right? That case probably, if you buy it from a third party, would cost you $50-$60. So yeah, that's actually nuts. I thought those were more expensive. Yeah, just go for the premium edition. That's sweet. Right, good job, Hercules. Yeah, I'd heard that they had the case coming out for it. I didn't know it was that inexpensive to get it with the case. So yeah, if you want vinyl, it's hard to beat this deal. Yeah, like the only way to do a cheaper setup is to find a used kind of like I did, finding a used DVS mixer with a set of used turntables, but it's terrible for hauling around. I really like my DVS setup. It's a lot of fun, and like as I'm using it to learn how to scratch and how to. So like someday I may end up with one of these, just if I end up really liking mixing the turntables. But yeah, skip a lot of that headache because then you don't have to do what I do, where I have a separate a separate controller and a DVS setup. That you can just get something like this, test the waters on it. Like if you're looking at some of those like higher end Pioneer moving platters, or I think Tractor has one with some moving platters on it and stuff. This is like less than half the price of any of those. It gets you there. That's really sweet. I didn't realize it was only $100 for the case and the upgraded module. Just go that route. Have a good time. Good job, Hercules. That is as again going back to like when Cleveland Terry did his video, just this little intro video on the T7 last year at NAMM. As the rep from Hercules put it, it is priced competitively, I believe he put it, or aggressively. I can't remember. One of them corrected the other. I can't remember which one, but yeah. Oh yeah, and I also forgot they have this is a cool implementation. So rather than having to sacrifice a pad mode if you don't want to, you have your instrumental and vocal buttons for just quick stem adjustment. The only thing I don't like about the T7, and it's nothing to do with this is not the T7 like Hercules' fault. Basically ignore that it says Serato here. It comes with Serato DJ Intro, which is one of the worst platforms. If you get this, I would actually recommend if you have Serato Pro, just use it with that. But Dejuiced actually has gotten way better than it used to be. Just in general, it has just improved and improved as a platform. If it had direct compatibility with SoundSwitch, I would probably be using it on some of my mobile gigs. But because I'm a SoundSwitch user and I just don't want to deal with the Ableton Link stuff, that's the only reason I'm not using Dejuiced. But it is just an overall great little platform, and it does unlock some of the extra features on these. So for example, you can see these little LEDs here that kind of show you where you may want to adjust to, and like there's other LEDs underneath here to help. So again, if you're new to DJing in general, but also like for me, man, this thing is starting to tempt me. Even as some of you say, like, I've already got a vinyl setup and I have a portable setup. I don't really need it for. These guides are actually pretty sweet. So if you're trying to learn how to spin on vinyl, this might actually even be better than getting like a full vinyl setup to start, period, because it'll actually give you your like these LEDs and stuff in terms of like, oh, you should be making this one slower, you should make this one faster. Oh, this you're off beat here, turn this way, right? Like it has some of those different little adjustment guides that can be very handy. And again, paddle effects in the middle. Yeah, you go from something like this to like a rain mixer with a set of like the Rain 12s or whatever. Like you'll feel right at home because you'll be used to paddle effects, and you'll be used to again, if you get the premium one, just go for the premium. Knowing how little of a cost difference it is, I'm sorry, like mow an extra lawn, I don't care. Of course, I don't own a lawn. That's I'm assuming you make less than $100 when you mow a lawn, but yeah, just go for the premium. That's sweet. It's starting to tempt me from just a learning to spin on vinyl kind of situation because of the assist stuff that I always forget is on there. Because a lot of the DJs who review stuff like this are experienced, so they don't really use those features. They just say they're nice to haves. But somebody like me who's learning to spin on vinyl, that might actually be really useful. And then the fact that it's just an overall really good controller. Only thing holding back it for me, I'm pretty sure. Do I still have it open? Yeah, I'm fairly certain. I'm just trying to zoom in here. Um, yeah, I wish the mic had more adjustments to it. And I believe this has an yeah, and it doesn't have an aux in. Now, some people are complaining it doesn't have a booth out. I don't care. It has XLR outs. That's sweet. So if I was doing uh, a simple gig where I need to talk on the mic like once to be like, hey everybody, don't forget last calls in half an hour, that kind of announcements. This would be more than enough. For weddings, I like to have an EQ for adjusting to different people's voices and stuff. Um, and yeah, having an aux in, it's a bit of a missed opportunity. It's the one thing if they do a Mark II of this, those are the two big things I would do because they have it on the 400. Um, the Impulse 400, I think it is, or is it the 500? Hercules. It's the 500. Yeah, your 500 has a aux in, and I'm trying to just find the top view. There we go. Has an aux in with a filter on it and has low and high on the mic. Just copy this section and throw that on the your T8 or whatever the next one is. That'll be pretty sweet. But yeah, like I said, I've been yammering about this a little too long. If you're interested in a T7, I would say just go for the premium. It's $100, gets you the better crossfader, better channel faders, and gets you that case. Oof. I assumed it was going to be more of a price difference than that. I'm glad I'm wrong. Carrying on. Steinberg is still putting out Steinberg branded products, which is actually news to me. I thought they moved everything to say Yamaha on it when they got bought by Yamaha. Like my interface I'm talking on right now is Steinberg. I've been using it for 10 years and it still works. Just plug it in. Like I need to clean my my IO a bit, give it a bit of a deaux because again I've been using it for 10 years. But yeah, so not too much to say when it comes to this type of product, to be perfectly honest, which is unfortunate. Because these are probably really cool. USB-C, so it works with Mac stuff, iPhones and iPads. That's actually kind of cool. I wonder if this can run bus power on like an iPad. So if you're doing like or like an iPhone, so if you like tape it down to stuff properly, you can have like a proper audio interface on a like mobile streaming setup. But yeah, like it's your standard fare. Oh, probably not, because that's probably I think why they have the second is for power. Yeah, yeah. So if you're using the iPad and stuff, you probably have to power it, but you'd have to use a power bank anyway. But yeah, cool. No, Steinberg. Oh, and they're doing like recording packs. And yeah, as far as I'm aware, they're owned by Yamaha now. I'm assuming this comes with like Cubase LE or something as well. It probably sounds good. I've had really good luck with their products. It'll probably last ages. So if you need a single channel unit for probably a good price, cool. Glad they're putting stuff out. Well, Alpha Theta. So these guys are the not so new kids on the block. Pioneer DJ, I don't think we're ever. I think they branched off from Pioneer proper at some point or got bought, and they were paying for the rights to the name. If my memory serves, don't quote me on that though. I mean, check for yourself. But yeah, they I think Alpha Theta is like their parent company these days, and they're just putting stuff out in their name now using Pioneer's stuff. Um, Now this ominous duo, it's cool. It is a it's their answer to the I would say the Denon Prime Go, because if you just compared it to the Denon Prime Go, I think it really holds its own. The irony is, it actually starts to lose a bit of ground when you start comparing it to the more modern Mixstream Go, which is kind of funny because like the Denon Prime Go is a more pro end device. It's just the Mixstream Pro Go has a more traditional interface. So like personally, I prefer it, even though the Denon Prime Go has some major advantages in terms of I/O and things like that. The Mixstream Pro is still my weapon of choice when I'm DJing a wedding and stuff. And yeah, if you prefer the feel of record box kind of stuff and you're looking for something a little more updated, this could be the case. Um, oh, I don't like to see that, guys. No, no. This instantly turns me off from this product a bit. Um, so it can work with Rekordbox, which is great. Rekordbox is, in terms of unlock software, like I plug it into my computer and it just works. It's some of the best bang for your buck out there, right? The FLX4, for example, just use it with Rekordbox. Because Serato DJ Lite currently is the worst DJ software out, in my opinion. I will use Mix over Serato DJ Lite any day of the week, unless I like really, really, really need something. Uh, yeah, like when I use Hercules products that have Dejuiced and Serato DJ Lite, I use Mix. Yeah, it's just not good. Serato DJ Lite is needs an overhaul, and it feels really like they pulled a bunch of stuff out of from it. Now, what's annoying about this is a really expensive device, which is why I think it's designed more to compete with the Denon stuff as opposed to the Newmark, because I think the Newmark price wise has it really beat. Um, yeah, so I don't know what to say about that. That instantly makes me hate this thing. I had my qualms with it, and I've kind of gotten over them. The look of it, I'll get a better picture going here. The look of it had me a little, on it, because what I think made it look cheap to me, and it isn't cheap. It for everything I've heard, it feels great. It sounds great in terms of build quality and processor quality and whatnot. Two mic inputs, which is really nice for mobile because they actually were thinking about mobile in this case. I think it has EQ built in for the mics in the software. If it doesn't, you guys. Uh, but anyway, um, I think it's because the front panel is all one piece. It looked cheap to me. The Going back to this guy, you can very clearly see the decks and the mixer section separate. And that is the case with my Newmark Mixstream. That's the case with a lot of other units. That turned me off at first, and I have since gotten over it. For some reason, it made it look cheaper to me. That was really unfair because that shouldn't actually do it. But for some reason, just looks wise, that turned me off a little bit. Now, I will say they are clicky pads. I've fallen in love with clicky pads after using Hercules uh, Control Starlight or Starlight Control or whatever it's called. So I don't mind that they're clicky pads, but I'm actually surprised they went that route. I think the Denon does as well. So I wonder if they were just trying to go for that crowd. But it has 8 on each side, which is nice, especially for a unit this size. It looks pretty compact. I haven't seen one in person yet. You can run off SD and all that. Has a basically like a record box style OS built into it, and then yeah, you can plug it in and use it with record box, which is how everybody should use it. Don't use this, again. You guys bought Serato, and your first flagship product under your new name doesn't come with Serato Pro. What the fuck you doing? Um, that I'm hoping that's a typo. I'm hoping because it's unannounced so far. They're like, yeah, eventually it'll support Serato. Maybe this is just what this website assumed. But if they actually come out and put this as Serato DJ Lite, that's a slap in the face to Serato users. Yeah, unless the plan is to get everybody switched over to Record Box and they're just going to let Serato die on the vine and take all the features and get their programmers working on their products. Because yeah, Alpha Theta bought Serato. This hurts. This hurts me physically. Now going back to positives about this unit, outside of price, again, bit high, but from what I hear, build quality kind of matches that price point, right? They're going for that higher end portable DJ crowd. The big thing, its claim to fame that takes a lot of these negatives and throws them out the window, is the really cool Bluetooth side of it. I don't know how they're doing it, but when you hit Bluetooth on here, it's actually like basically uploading a quick copy of the file or the waveform, and you can play it. So if you lose connection on your phone or whatever, like it's not just. I think you can just do general Bluetooth playback. So if you've got backing tracks or something like that, or like, oftentimes for me, my dinner music playlist, I will run off of a tablet instead of off of my console. Um, yeah, it's a really nice to have that this has um, this really interesting use of Bluetooth where you can actually take a file like Bluetooth something onto this and then scratch it and like it's just really cool. So this thing has some definite merits. Yeah, cool. Well, before we get to the Wave 8, I'm going to use the washroom. Oh, back. All right. So in conclusion on the Omnis, it's missing a bunch of stuff. It should have an aux in if it. Um, like I know a lot of people, like I said, really wanted a booth out on the um on the Mixstream Pro and stuff, and this has a booth out, but no aux in. Um, unless it's on the hidden on the front and I'm unaware of it. If it comes with Serato DJ Lite, I have no interest in it whatsoever, and that actually pains me that that is a possibility. So hopefully, that's incorrect, which it could be. But either way, I think it's a good first outing from the new title, but a bit of a missed opportunity in some regards. Like it's doing some really cool stuff. If they can make that Bluetooth stuff work retroactively on things like the Opus Quad, or do like an Opus Quad 2.0 or something like that under their new branding, whew, that'll be really good. But carrying on, the Wave 8. Now, this is an interesting release. There's a lot of battery-powered speakers hitting the market as of late. This one has some interesting tricks up its sleeve. I've heard it sounds really good. I haven't heard one in person, but now doing a lithium-ion battery, good idea. Some of the real cheap ones are still using like lead acid or whatever the cheaper one is, where it's basically like a battery out of a ATV or something like that. But yeah, up to 8 hours of playback time. That's at probably like half volume or something like that. Now the IPX4 is a great thing and a bit of a missed opportunity. The reason it has X at the beginning here versus the IP54 on my, if you've seen my, what are they called, Wharfdale review recently, that IPX4, the X is they didn't get it tested for dust or it didn't pass for dust. So don't go using this in a construction site. The 4 means water resistant. It's not waterproof, but I believe to get a 4 rating, you have to be able to withstand water from any direction for up to 10 minutes. So rain should be fine, though they still recommend getting it out of the rain if it's raining kind of thing, but like you don't have to panic the second that see a few water droplets come near it. Should be good in higher humidity areas. Yeah, because I straight up like my Yorkville sub. Oh, I love that thing, but it legit would not turn on a cold rainy day one day because all of its like circuit protection stuff was like no, this is not the environment for us. Like it's not rated for outdoor and whatnot. So that was that's actually pretty sweet that they're coming out swinging with a outdoor speaker essentially. Yeah, and then they've done the interesting thing um, that I think is actually more important than the speaker. The speaker is interesting because it's a wireless or it's a like a wireless speaker, right? Like you can Bluetooth to it. I'm pretty sure it's got a fairly decent mixer, if I remember. Though it has like that weird, and I always get annoyed. And of course they don't show me the mixer on any of these photos. Come on, guys. Isn't that like an important little ass? There it is. Is that the best photo? You can tell who they're marketing this to when you have to scroll to this photo to get like an okay image of the mixer without going into the manual. That's not even the. It's just the single volume knob. So yeah, it's supposed to be pretty easy to work with. It has your different DSP. One of the interesting things they did was have one of the DSP settings being a subwoofer. Um, 8-inch sub for live sound. I don't know who that's for. I honestly don't know who that's for, because this is a fairly expensive speaker. It's not outlandish for what it's offering. It being a lightweight, outdoor usable, battery powered speaker with some interesting tricks up its sleeve. I don't know who's gonna be using this thing as a subwoofer, man. Like, I just don't. I just don't get that. That's a bit of a weird choice, but it actually does work. Um, yeah. Now I'm curious. Did they actually give us a max SPL rating? Amplifier, 110 watts. Um, I can actually trust that number. That doesn't sound too bad. Um, yeah, no listing of maximum sound pressure level. God, at least that I'm not, unless I'm missing something. I hate it when they do this, and so many companies do this. It's very aggravating. It's like, give me the stats that I need. 28 pounds isn't bad, given it has the battery. If it didn't have a battery in it, I would say this is too heavy, because I have currently 32-pound 12-inch speakers, maybe 35, and they will likely go way louder than this. But yeah, I'm not happy with this spec sheet. It's not giving me a whole lot of info. Where is there? Are they seriously not giving a frequency response? Alpha, theta. This is one of the worst spec sheets I think I've seen. So no sound pressure level output listed. No frequency response listed, and you say you can set it to a subwoofer. Now, like I said, from what I've heard from people who've used this thing, it's supposed to sound actually really good for its size and for its weight and for it being battery powered. Like, add all those caveats to it. It's coming out swinging for what it is, but as somebody who is just looking at it in a catalog, I have nothing to judge it on other than taking people's word for it, because I can't see what its sound pressure output is. I can't see what its frequency response is in any of these settings, right? Like, why would I ever spend $900 to turn this thing into a subwoofer and have no idea if it's actually going to work for that or not in my system? How do I know what frequency cutoff that subwoofer is? If it doesn't, I mean, maybe it says it somewhere in the manual, because that's what it linked to when it sent me to here. So if I flip through this 35-page manual, am I going to find... Yeah, there's no stat for where the... Well, I found a company I'm more annoyed at than QSC. At least QSC gives me numbers, even if they fudge them a little bit with some their -6 malarkey. But, or ±6. I still love my QSC speakers, because they do tell me they're max SPL, even though, yeah, it's before the speaker protection and stuff, so you basically have to ignore it. But they give me it. These guys are giving me nothing. Yeah, it's making it really hard to speculate at all about this little speaker. So I'm going to stop talking about the speaker, because it's just annoying me now how little info they give me. You can't judge a speaker solely by its spec sheet, but you can learn a lot by it, and you can learn a lot by the absence of information. If a company refuses to share the SPL of a product, they probably don't want you to know it, because it's probably too low. That's just always a good rule of thumb. if they're not listing how loud it goes, it probably doesn't go as loud as its competitors. That's just a good way to think about it. So them not telling me any of that, and like give an estimate or something, right? Like we looked at those LDs earlier. Like they can't even use the excuse of like, oh well, it's a brand new product. We haven't ran it through all of its paces yet. No, they're selling it already, and like yeah, these new LEDs, they've got everything listed. Yeah, they're listing peak power and all that crap instead of showing how much actual power they're using. But yeah, I am legitimately annoyed at the speaker now, which is too bad because now I get to talk about the good side of it, and that is this little box here. Um, it's interesting that they're one of the first ones to sort of do this. I say sort of do this because it is a Wi-Fi driven box. Um, that's fairly common. I think it's NUX has like a wireless XLR. I think it was. Yeah, these as Canadian dollars, or oh no, X5 does them too. NUX and X5. These are Canadian dollars, so ignore the pricing if you're in a different country. But stuff like this generally runs the same idea, 2.4 gigahertz. So they're running off of like Wi-Fi signal versus off of um, Bluetooth, which is usually how most wireless audio is driven these days. But they're doing a Wi-Fi network basically, but it's working as in and out. So you can chain speakers together. And that is a really cool idea. So if this speaker here is however many feet away that is still within range of this box, it'll pick up what I'm putting out. And then it can have another box X amount of distance away, and it'll pick up from the transmitter in the speaker. And then you can have another one. You can have another one. I think they said you can have like 16 or something changed. Don't quote me on that. Like go to their website and look it up. That's really cool. So they have some really interesting tech going on. I think this speaker, looking more into it, is a bit of a missed opportunity because I have no idea how to judge it without getting my hands on one and without pulling out my own SPL meter. That's really annoying. But if it sounds good, if it does put out a good amount of volume for being a wireless speaker, I'd probably be happy. Like the one I'm actually planning on looking into, Monoprice. These guys are like the budget option out there. Live sound, I think it's under their. Yeah, they have their wireless speakers that the chances of this speaker at $250 sounding anywhere near as good as the $900 option is very, very low. But I will give them credit. They've finally gone. They're giving us proper frequency response and the max SPL on their spec sheets. So I can actually somewhat compare it. Again, a lot of I stress this in like every video I do about speakers. These numbers are kind of easy to fabricate. Thankfully, Monoprice actually tells you a lot of the sensitivity of their speakers, which is weird for powered speakers. They don't do that a lot. But yeah, like if Monoprice on their $250 speaker can tell us how loud it goes and what the frequency response is, my assumption, and it's always a good assumption to have, is if you're not telling us how loud your speaker goes, it's probably disappointing. Just tell us, right? If it's low, we should expect it's going to be a little bit lower than alternatives, right? Like if you're spending $900 on a speaker and it's wireless and has a bunch of other cool features like this frequency range 2.4 gigahertz for your wireless transmission and things like that. Like you have really cool things. You give us the other specs too. Maybe they're coming soon. I know this thing just got released, but like the fact that it's not in the manual, that tells me it's going to be a while till we see them if we ever do. And again, why would I ever spend $900 on essentially like I would never use the subwoofer feature on this. Like I don't know anybody who would. Maybe if you were say doing one on top, one on bottom, like you had a pair of these and like you really wanted extra bass, so it's like I'm going to dedicate just this box here to put out just the bass. Because if you dedicate one to only bass, it will put out a bit more because it doesn't have to worry about any of the mids or highs. I guess I don't know, but the wireless system that they're putting in this stuff is really cool. But I'm gonna stop griping about the speaker because it's just making me annoyed now. So let's look at something way less annoying. Ooh, I'm excited about this little guy here. If you haven't seen this, Reloop Mix Tour. Reloop has had some really interesting releases as of late because they're working a lot with DJ Pro. Now, one of the big complaints I hear about DJ Pro is it doesn't have a lot of DJ controllers for it yet. So they made one. Now they made a few, right? I think it's the Mix-On 8, which looks really cool. And especially if you were planning on using DJ, it's supposed to be like, this is the one to get. If you're going to use DJ, just here you go. Here's a big professional unit. This is a small professional unit. And I kind of want one. Now, this is from the position of somebody who uses and owns an AMX. Now, if you aren't familiar with that, that's the Akai AMX. I did a video on this thing already, but excuse me. Where's the photos, guys? Now, in their defense, it's a long discontinued item, so having photos right at the fingertips might not be exactly what they want. So this is the Akai AMX here. Very similar form factor. You know, we got our buttons here in the middle, our metering section and crossfaders and all that stuff here, and EQs on the sides. It has a few gimmicky things, like these are touch sensitive, so you can actually, like if you touch the treble, it'll mute your treble until you let go. It was kind of cool. But yeah, it has, as you can probably see, a whole bunch of RCA ins and then RCA out. So you can actually run it standalone or with DVS. And these knobs here, the gain knobs, actually are basically doubling as like a kind of pseudo jog wheel. So you can eke your track back and forth. Yeah, cue, pause, sync, all that kind of stuff. But it is missing quite a bit. So then they had this guy that you could get to go beside it. Very Tractor-esque, right? Tractor also has a similar form factor mixer board, or DJ mixer rather. And yeah, they're cool. As you can see from that photo, they start to get a little funny looking when you have all the ins and outs going, but it's just a good form factor for what it does. And for me, oftentimes, like I have said before, I'm doing wedding DJing and things like that. I'm not using a lot of effects and stuff. I'm mostly just blending from one song to another, with you know, getting things synced up, whether I'm using sync or like as of late, I've been doing a lot more manually just to get better at doing it manually. But on this, it's just a lot easier to use sync. So enter the new Challenger. Now, this thing looks sweet. The only thing I think it is missing compared to something like the AMX, and I wonder if it is a patent thing or like I don't even know if you can patent it. It would have been nice to have rotary dials somewhere to nudge tracks. There might be, although I am seeing here pitch bend up and down as like a shiftable option on the cue, pause, play. So you should, I believe, be able to line your tracks up manually on something like this. Um, you just don't have like tempo faders, right? So you have to rely on sync to bring your tempo up and down, but you can still line your tracks up. That's good to see. Um, Now the original had just some buttons in the center of the original because the Mix Tour, right? This is the Mix Tour Pro. The original just had some buttons in the center. I think could only do 2 channel, where this technically can do 4. I don't know why you would ever do 4 channels on a form factor like this, but it we are talking about DJ that was one of the first companies to do stems in the more modern context. Like Tractor always had like the stems where you could download specific tracks that had stems built in and it could work with them. This is more of that modern, like I can remove certain aspects of the track or certain aspects of this or that. But yeah, stuff like this, they're really using every part of the animal is the way I like to put it. So hot cue, auto loop, etc. Like all of your pad modes, funny enough, are controlled by your pad. So you would hit shift and then hit the pad, and then it switches over to like your sampler and stuff. Um, yeah, so like having the pads directly in the center there, it does alleviate the need to have an outboard section of pads. That's kind of cool. Um, where before, I believe these were just cue points, which for a lot of people that was all they needed. Actually, reloop mix tour. I don't want the pro. I just want the original. Again, Canadian dollars. Which for what it's offering, it's a pretty cool little unit. It's loading. Yeah, give me all the cookies. All right. So yeah, oh, they did have, okay. Oh, they did a much bigger overhaul than I thought they did. The transport, I think, is what it's often referred to as. Let me get some of these extra. Get rid of those. Yeah, these transport buttons I thought were on the original, but I'm wrong. Yeah, they crammed a bunch of stuff on this. That's cool. So they put your pause cue, an auto loop down here. Interesting. I'm used to like loop stuff being just on the pads these days. So it is one of those things. This was made in conjunction with Laid Back Luke, who I've started following on YouTube. I don't really follow too many DJs. I tend to follow more the tech guys that are like reviewing stuff because I sell this stuff and like I'm always interested in what will work best for like my company in terms of using, as opposed to what are the pros using? What are some techniques for mixing like EDM? Like that's not really what my thing. But from what I've heard, like he's putting his money where his mouth is, which is nice to see. He's actually going to be using this thing for festivals and whatnot. Anywhere he doesn't need like decks to do scratch stuff, because it kind of has everything you would need. And he's using his phone as his playback device in terms of like his instead of like a computer, because he's said he always has hated the computer. And like for me, that's one of the reasons I use the Mixstream Pro is for a lot of DJs, myself included, as I'm cheap when it comes to my laptops, the computer you're using is often your highest failure point. So having being able to eliminate the computer from it is very useful. But yeah, you can kind of tell his feedback of like, no, we need to change this, we need to change that, we need to change this, has really worked. Now they're doing, I don't know if DJ originally did it this way. I know that Virtual DJ did it, where your high, mid, and low are also direct knobs for controlling stems. So they do have just preempted stem implementation in here rather than having to program it in after the fact, which for a new release you kind of need it. Paddle controls for effects. Did they have? Yeah, they just had like a filter or effect knob before. But again, man, I love me some paddles. Yeah, this thing's tempting. I like it. Um, yeah, full EQ, gain knobs at the top, loading and stuff on the decks. Split Q for headphones, I'm assuming. Yeah, I'm liking everything I'm seeing. They fit so much stuff on here. Now, if you want a big console to be able to get to everything easy, you just easier to read, easier to get to everything in terms of not having to be really careful about bumping a knob or a button you don't want to. This isn't for you, but for man, I know a lot of wedding DJs. This plus like an iPad or this plus a phone of some kind, all you'd ever need. Yeah, like it's kind of hard to fault any of the choices they've made here. Um, obviously it only has RCA outputs, which for this unit is fine. I do like it as power pass through. So you power it with a charger, and then you can actually, whatever device you're using, it can charge it. So you don't have to worry annoyingly that like, oh, my phone's gonna run out of batteries while I'm trying to DJ with this thing. Yeah, having all your transport controls here, a much more robust effects section, performance pads crammed in the middle. Yeah. There's a lot of mobile DJs where this is all you're gonna need. It doesn't have an aux in, doesn't have a mic in, etc. But it's not really designed for that. I'm gonna put this thing next to an external mixer and run the RCAs from this into that mixer, plug any microphones and stuff I need into that. Yeah, like it's not cheap. I don't know if they have the price listed anywhere on here, but I've heard some people saying like, oh man, for that, like you think it would be less expensive. No. Uh, they're cramming a lot of stuff in it. From what I hear, I don't know what they had in the original, but even though it doesn't have quarter-inch outs, having good digital analog converters means your signal is going to be nice and clean and clear going into the RCAs on your outboard mixer. So that should be just fine. And like I said, I'm running a AMX for this type of form factor. It doesn't have anywhere near the capabilities of this. Like the only thing I like more on the AMX is one, the DVS, but like, do I need a compact DVS mixer? As soon as you bring a turntable out, it's like, well, why don't I just have a full sized mixer with this, right? It's nice to have mine because I got mine for like next to nothing. But the only other thing I like about it is instead of using like a pitch bend that they have kind of set up there, you can use your gain knob to nudge your tracks forward and back to line things up. That's the only thing I kind of like more on mine, I think, without trying one of these, right? If I ever try one of these, it may end up being like, well, I prefer everything about this. But yeah, if you don't need DVS, you don't need extra inputs in terms of this stuff, this could be just perfect. And, we were looking at that Korg guy earlier, right? You want to do some scratching on the side of everything else, run this RCA into your mixer. It's got its little crossfader here. Use this for doing your scratching with a little like proper vinyl scratch scratch vinyl on there, and you're set. Because yeah, you need an external if you're doing this if you're doing this with your own mobile DJ rig, you need an external mixer with it, and it's kind of designed with that in mind. Because again, you go to a festival situation, and they're going to have like, yeah, you just plug RCA into here. Okay, we're good to go, and we'll just set our levels based on what you're sending us. Yeah, like this isn't a plug straight into most speakers. Like if a speaker has RCA ins, it can work. You always have to remember RCAs do put out a lower volume signal or a lower powered signal compared to a balanced quarter inch. It's just pro line level versus consumer line level. There's nothing wrong with either, but the sensitivity of the input is different. So if you use RCA to quarter inch adapters and you plug into those, you're going to have to turn your gain up more because it's not expecting, for lack of a better way of putting it, that signal. But yeah, from everything I've heard, this thing just feels really good. It has good converters. It's supposed to control the software really, really well. Oh, that's an interesting choice. Yeah. Okay, so they kept the filter separate from the effects. So, which is another big difference between it and the original. Is the filter and the effects were one knob, and now it's yeah, that's a heavy redesign in a lot of ways. Do they just have the overview? I just want the aha. There we go. Yeah, so you could turn this to effect or non-effect, and then this was your scrolling through, where the new one, the scroll through and stuff is up top, the main volume right by there. That's a little I don't know how that does it on mine. I'd actually have to check where my master volume is. That could be a problem, is having, if this is your scroll to load stuff, having it that close to your main volume. You might nudge that from time to time, so just be very careful with that. But overall, yeah, this is a crazy amount of stuff crammed into a very small package, right? Now, if you want, like, if you're looking at this and you're like, oh man, that's way too expensive, blah 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 blah. There are small form factor like Hercules and Newmark both make them. Stuff like the Starlight and the DJ Go or whatever the Newmark one is. That they're more of a horizontal versus the vertical. This is perfect if somebody's used to working with a mixer, like a DJ mixer, because it has everything you would want in a DJ mixer. It just doesn't have the decks on the side. I would be curious to know. Maybe somebody out there knows, so feel free to comment. With something like phase or like these USB turntable alternatives, like I think there's a new one from Pioneer, and then there's like the Rain 12s. I wonder if you have the Rain 12s plugged in USB, if they can operate as a deck with this, because I know this alongside something like just a an Akai pad MIDI controller should be powerful enough to do most stuff, but being able to like have, if you really want a deck on the side, like some type of DVS thing, as long as it has a way to get the signal into the computer. Is it HID? I think HID is the other one, because DVS is digital vinyl. HID is like, I can't remember what it stands for, but it controls things a bit more directly, so you don't need the. That's my reminder that I have to go to work in an hour. But yeah, overall, Reloop, right? Great little thing. Yeah, I know there's a lot of people who are gonna not like it, and that's fine. if you like having big decks on the side, if you like having a bigger mixer because you can really get to everything nice and cleanly, not for you. But yeah, like there's a lot of. I know that Laidback Luke put this thing together more for himself and for DJs like him who are doing like EDM festival stuff. I think is kind of what he was going for. I don't really know his music all that well, or like his sets and stuff, but he relies a lot more on like cue point, like he's not just fading from song to song like I am. But for a lot of like wedding DJs, this thing's kind of perfect, right? Especially because I was talking about some other stuff earlier, where having an external mixer is a must for even like what was it, the Hercules T7, right? If I'm running the T7 at a wedding, I'm bringing an external mixer because it doesn't have an aux in and it doesn't have a EQ for the microphones. If I show up to a wedding with one of these, same thing. I'm going to need an external mixer and stuff anyway. And depending on the external mixer, it's probably still a smaller, lighter package than bringing anything else. On top of all that, right? You look at going way back machine to when we were looking at these guys. If you have a system like this that has different no, I'm assuming somewhere, because it says it's a 6-channel mixer, unless don't tell me. Oh, I don't like it when they do that. Where the Bluetooth is technically 2 channels. Gross. But say you have something like this that has like an aux in for your RCAs, like you be it an 1/8 inch, so you just run an 1/8 inch adapter, or if it has RCA ins, right? Like I'm looking into a column array that has RCA ins, but then it also has 2 microphone inputs. With that system, you actually don't need an external mixer because your speaker has one, right? Like one of my speakers, I have a YX10P, like this long discontinued now unit from Yorkville. I can run my aux in right into there, and then a microphone in channel 2. Hey, although in this case I wouldn't have separate EQs, so I wouldn't recommend doing that. But it is like if you have a more modern setup, you may not even need an external mixer, because if it's all built into your speakers, you're set. Yeah, little things like this, they're making me rethink some of my setups and some of my rigs, because this plus the only problem with this thing is DJ sucks on Windows and on Android. Yeah, there it is. So if you're an Apple guy, this is kind of perfect. That might change in the future. I don't see it happening just because they haven't done it yet. Like, so why would they now? But yeah, I think for a lot of DJs, I think, hate to admit it, that this would be all they need to do everything that they do at a regular gig, unless you need decks and stuff for scratching, I guess. But yeah, cool. Well, thanks to those sticking around, live viewers and all that, as well as anybody who watches this post broadcast. I might cut some of this up into smaller individual videos, but I have 4 or 5 videos recorded that I need to get to editing. I just wanted to get something out there and wanted to talk about some of this stuff, especially like this reloop one kind of got my brain going. This alpha theta stuff, I thought I was going to talk more highly of it, but as I looked into it more, it has annoyed me more than anything, especially if you ever see this alpha theta, prove me wrong. You should not have a $1,500 MSRP DJ controller that unlocks Serato DJ Lite you own Serato. Like, this is inexcusable if this ends up being the truth. Also doesn't work with streaming services yet. I know it's a DRM thing in some regards, right? Like, that's why the Mixstream Pro doesn't work with Amazon Music, but the Mixstream Pro Plus does. So maybe they're trying to work out some of those things. But you would have thought they would have gotten that sorted with them first, especially given that they have units that already work with like Tidal and stuff. I don't know. I don't know. This thing just annoys me a little bit with some of the things. And this Altheta again, or Pioneer DJ, I guess, kind of both now. Give us a spec sheet. Just do it. Let me complain less. Let me get rid of that so I stop complaining about it. But yeah, Reloop, really good. Steinberg, these are probably great, but like it's really hard to talk much about these. Now I don't like this. That is just a monitor button. My like decade-old Steinberg interface has a knob to switch between, where I can decide how much I want of my live monitoring versus my DAW. So I don't know about that. Hercules, kicking ass, taking names. You've essentially made the regular T7 redundant by making the premium. It's $100 more and comes with not only the upgraded center console, but a better, or it comes with a bag. Yeah, you've made the T7 redundant. Just get the T7 premium. Sweet, good job, guys. Korg, as I mentioned, like these are not for me, but I can see the value. These are some cool mixers for the right audience, and I think Korg has that audience because they have a lot of like synth guys, and like one of the big trends right now is DAW-less electronic music. So having a DAW-less recorder that is a mixer as well, I think, is going to be very popular to a lot of people. Yeah. Personas. These little guys are really cool for, again, not for me, but I think for somebody doing the spatial audio stuff and is looking for some like top speakers and things like that, or like surrounds and things, or people who are doing that thing I never recommend of using monitors as surround sound speakers and stuff. Like these could be really good as rears, but I don't generally recommend that. But yeah, these are actually a really cool design, really compact. I dig it. Kali Audio, yeah, desktop monitors for like home studio stuff is pretty sweet. They go down pretty low. For sub bass, use your headphones or mix them with a subwoofer. Built-in DAC is nice to see, but yeah, these are made for a very different audience than me, so I don't have a whole lot to say on them. This I just want to look up later because I had never seen this before when I was looking at something to record, so I'm gonna see what the heck the Chaos DJ is. Roland coming out swinging. If you caught the part of the stream where I was looking at this thing, I was not expecting to think this is, this thing is kind of amazing. Oh, is it technically only USB 2? Even though it's using a USB-C port. I'm surprised they can get that much bandwidth out of the USB audio video out. But yeah, this is a oh no, never mind. I see now. USB port 1, USB port 2. Huh. Oh, that makes way more sense. But yeah, this thing's really sweet, right? Mic input, headphone / headset. Careful there. Aux, line out, all this stuff, but it being basically but at least as far as I can tell, a video switch slash video um, capture card mixed with your audio mixer. Um, yeah, I don't think the other. I think everything else is one or the other, and it has proprietary software to run it, but then it runs through OBS as per usual. So basically plug and play for a lot of systems out there. This thing is really sweet. The only thing I wish it had was a second microphone, just for video podcast kind of stuff, because this could be really sweet for it. But again, as I mentioned when I was looking at this thing for a video podcast setup, just go with a regular mixer. But that's really sweet. This Waves thing, I had little to say about it other than it's really cool because it is for a much higher echelon of live mixers than myself. LD, yeah, I'm a little annoyed that your 6-channel, the last 2 of them are Bluetooth. This is something I've been seeing in a lot of mixers. Even, like, I love my UI 16, but 2 of the channels on that 16 are the USB port. Technically, it's 2 channels, right? It's because if it's doing stereo Bluetooth. Yeah. Although interesting. Monitor 1, monitor 2. Does this let you use this as a main and then run this to a stage monitor? Ooh. Ooh, LD. Maybe you just won me back a little bit. That's really cool. That's really cool. Yeah. Yeah. Keep it up. LD has been pushing everything in the right direction. So, and then yeah, I had those open twice. Sweet. Well, hopefully that sounded and looked good. You can see my little hole in my shirt there. Thanks for coming. Thanks for sticking that out. I'm gonna let my voice rest so I can teach a bunch of people later tonight. But videos coming soon. I've got a like so UI 16 review coming out. I've got some guitar reviews planned. They just take a lot more time, so I haven't done them in a while. I got a new DJ controller, well, new to me, that is better than a lot of the DJ controllers on the market right now, but is like 10, 12 years old. So I've got that coming out. Yeah. Then I've just been gigging a lot lately. That's why there wasn't as many videos. It's because the more I work, the less I have time for this until this starts paying money. But right now it's a fun little hobby, so I just do it on the side. Cool. Well, I bid you all a good day.